honestly, I think the Cowboys are going to be a much better team this year. So I think that, we're a little upset that Jerry finally got him signed because that sucked 2 years of content away from us that we had milked to its core. But I think the Cowboys are going to be good, and I think Dak is the most underappreciated quarterback in the game right now.
Hey guys, welcome on into Drinks with Binks. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks. It is a big day for drinking and binking here on the show because we have now reached exactly 1 year of working from home. If that's not depressing, I don't know what is. Now, in all honesty and all seriousness, we've been staying home to stay safe. We know that this pandemic has taken a lot. It's taken a lot out of people mentally, physically. It's taken people away from us, but we are still trying to do our thing to just be able to kind of get back to some sort of normalcy. And this is our new normal, right? Me working, living in the same room as my boyfriend and doing my show, which is super annoying for him. But you know what? That's just what life is. And we keep on rocking and rolling. And we thought that the best way to celebrate this 1 year anniversary would be to have the guest that we had on, the first ever work from home guest, who also happens to be the best friend of this show because he's been on Call It a Night, which I don't even know where in the ether that is right now, but he was on Drinks with Binks a year ago. He is on now today. You know him, legendary sports broadcaster, host of Half Forgotten History, also brand ambassador, equity partner of Pro Football Network, none other than Trey Wingo. You know him from many years on ESPN, and now he gives zero f***s. We are here today. How are you doing, Trey?
Well, Big C, first of all, before we go any farther, I understand the drinking part, but just so I don't get you in any trouble or me in any trouble, can you explain the binking? Because I don't want to be doing any binking that's off limits here.
We've had this question many times. I haven't retained, but binking either I forget what we figured out binking means. It's something. Oh, bunnies. It's bunnies. It's bunnies bouncing. Bunnies bouncing.
Sure. Let's go with it. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't point out right away that, yes, we did not call each other, but somehow we have color coordinated on the year anniversary of working at home.
Like, not even just color coordinated. We are the exact same baby blue. And if I didn't have my hair extensions in, I would look exactly like you right now. So, Trey, that is a good thing that I do have them in. We're also drinking the same thing here today because that's what we do on the show, as you know from the first time. What do we have?
Got a little Moscow Mule, Binksy. Very, very simple to make. Brass cups. Okay, great. Very important.
Yeah, you gotta have these proper copper mugs. And what are we toasting to today on this anniversary of working from home?
How about another day that ends in Y and we're still here? Because that's sort of where we've been, right? Like, I don't know what a week is, a weekend is, a holiday is, anything. It is light. It is dark, and then it is light again, and we press on, and that's sort of where we are.
Yeah, wow, way to just bring the mood down super low to start, but you're right, we're here. Okay, toasting, and I'm cheersing to you. Toasting to you there, Bud, as well, for all your great accomplishments this year. Let's
Thank you.
Go. Quite nice.
Refreshing.
Trey, so it has been 365 days, or actually pretty much, because we did this on March 23rd last year. I look back at my Instagram stories.
Close enough.
And which are horrifying, by the way. And I gotta ask you, what's Trey Wingo like now versus 1 year ago?
Much more free, much less concerned about the health of my liver, and much more intrigued about possibilities. Like that's the best way to describe it. Like when we were doing this show a year ago, I was still on the morning show and I was getting ready to do the draft, and things changed dramatically. But I am happier now, and this is interesting to say. I'm happier now, even though with all the COVID bullshit and everything else that's going on. And I don't mean bullshit in terms of it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just, it's a lot of crap we have to deal with. I'm not a science denier or a mask denier in any way, shape, or form. But I'm happier, and I'm pursuing things that I really want to be doing. And that part of it is really, really fun.
Well, that is great to hear because I can only imagine when you work at somewhere for 23 years, it's kind of like dating someone or being married to someone for that long. Like that's kind of like your routine. That's the person you know. That's the world you live in. Now you have a completely different world. You used to do the morning show before, and now you don't. So that's a nice change. What is it like then now to kind of like you get to see, as you mentioned, kind of like colors you never saw before? What's it like sort of to not have ESPN as your identity?
It's interesting. And I'm glad you phrased it that way because I tried to never make sure ESPN was my identity. Like if you look at my Twitter handle, it was never Wingo's ESPN. It wasn't ESPN's Wingos, it was just Wingos. Like I wanted to make like that was a conscious choice. And I want to be clear, like I loved most of my time at ESPN. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
There's so many friends there that I have that I still want to do really well. But I mean, like I never wanted to be just, everything about me is rolled up into the 4 letters. Like that, I think would be a life unfulfilled, and it's not denigrating anything. It's just, I didn't want it to be all of that. So it's actually kind of nice to know that even though I'm sort of off doing my own thing, including doing some stuff for the PGA Tour and calling a couple events there, it doesn't matter to so many people whether or not I'm there or not. They're here for the content, and that part of it has been really, really, really fun and refreshing.
You mentioned something about the draft, which was, let's just give you, first of all, big, toast. That was amazing. You tap danced and you did that entire NFL draft virtual when everything was a new virtual. You were all learning how to do all that, and you did it so well, and everyone's watching you. Like, what was the weirdest thing that we would never know happened during that time when you did it?
It's interesting because first of all, thank you. That was very nice of you to say. And the numbers, I think in total, because we were on NFL Network as well, because their studios were shut down. So between NFL Network, ESPN, digital, I think we counted like 56 million people watch the draft. And that is,
wow.
That's like ridiculous, right? Now, the draft is always a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but it's, I can't remember that. Like you could multiply 3 years. I don't think you'd ever get that number. So many people ask me, including you and Peter King and a bunch of other people leading up to last year's draft, how are you preparing for this? I'm like, the same way I always do. Like the prep part wasn't any different for me. The only different part was the presentation. And we were all at the mercy of bandwidth. We do that little interview with Roger Goodell right before the draft starts. And the first question I said, you feel good about your bandwidth, and he sort of laughed. And that was the whole thing. And the weirdest part for me was like, I was one of 3 people in the studio. Like it was me, a camera operator, and a stage manager. And that was it. Like there was nobody else in the studio.
Yeah.
We had no idea if it was going to work. Like no idea. It's not something you can simulate. Okay, let's put all these things together and let's see if we don't crash the system. So it was just like we were prepared for chaos. We were prepared to deal with carnage, and miraculously, it didn't happen. Like it couldn't have gone. Like I've done Zoom calls with you, just the 2 of us, where we've had to stop 4 times because of technical issues. Not to get into too much of what happened a year ago, but 53 days before the draft, we were all set going to Vegas. We had the fountain set up at Caesars and all. I mean, it was all there ready to roll.
Going to bring everyone over.
Bring everybody over. The whole thing. And in 53 days, we went from that to a complete 180, and the people behind the scenes were just incredible. The Brian Reiters of the world, the Jeff Nelsons of the world, the directors and producers, the Rob Adamskis of the world. They were phenomenal. And those guys, the thing the thing nobody knows, like I was on the set just talking. Every one of those guys was in the control room, whether it was at NFL Network or ESPN, and they were wearing masks the entire time for like 16-hour days. And like a lot of people do that. I understand that. But like, it was new and it was difficult. And those guys rocked it, man. Like they made my job so easy. So like it was really weird. Like it went almost too well. You know what I mean? Like we were all expecting there to be one moment where the whole thing was going to crash, but it didn't, So kudos to them.
What do you think is going to be unique and different about this year's draft?
Well, it's an excellent question. And obviously, only a smart person would ask that, like yourself. But like, I think this year's draft is way crazier than last year's draft. And I'll give you a reason why. We had a full college football season last year. We had normal playoffs. We had a normal championship. We had a combine in Indianapolis. We had most of the pro days. This year's draft is crazy in terms of a talent evaluation. You are going to be looking at some teams that have played 11 or 12 games, some teams that have played 6. There are guys that are going to go in the top half of the draft that opted out. So you're looking at a year ago what they were on film and trying to figure out, okay, how do they translate having not played for a year, and how can I make that into my evaluation? Like, I swear to God, every GM, scout, and talent evaluator is freaking out about this year's draft because there's so much more risk and uncertainty than there was even a year ago because everything leading up to the draft was normal.
We have a whole lot more that we want to get to with Trey, including the fact that he made some bold predictions last year that actually came to fruition, and we will remind you of what they were when we come back after this on Drinks with Binks. Hey guys, welcome back to Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB. We've got legendary sports broadcaster Trey Wingo with us, sipping on some Moscow mules while we planned our outfits here today.
We did not plan our outfits. We just did this.
I was like, hey, Trey.
We mind melded. We mind
melded. Yes. Oh, man. Okay, great. Improv games. Let's go. Speaking of mind melding, last year on the show, 365 days ago, you said, and this isn't really that bold of a prediction, I just want to preface it, that Tom Brady was going to have a big year. And actually, maybe it was a bold prediction because he was going to the Buccaneers. You were right. Tom Brady, check mark. He had a very big year. What is the storyline right now that you are like, boom, 365 days from now, I know I'll be correct on that too?
Well, to be fair, I also predicted the Chiefs would win the Super Bowl and do the thing that Brady and the Patriots last did. So I totally F that one up. But it's interesting, right? Because looking at it right now, I don't know how we don't have the same two teams in the Super Bowl. And I mean that. And that hasn't happened since the Cowboys and the Bills went back-to-back years. I know that the Chiefs have had some shuffles and all that stuff, but Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick bleeping Mahomes. They're the best team in the AFC. And the Bucs kept everybody. That's the thing that has been most amazing about this offseason so far. Because we're okay, they can't keep Levante David and Shaq Barrett. They can't keep Chris Godwin. And they got everybody back. I mean, kudos to Jason Light for getting this done, barring some sort of catastrophic collapse injury-wise for both the Bucs and the Chiefs. I'm like, where's are you going to say Buffalo? Okay, maybe, but they still have to beat that dude, and they proved they didn't do it last year, and I still think he's the greatest thing since pay-per-view. And the Bucs are there. I mean, they had a little gamble on the offensive line last year. They started that rookie Tristan Wirfs, and he was amazing. Gronk's coming back. I mean, that's what I would. Yeah, put a pin on it. I think that it's more likely than not that those two teams will be back in the Super Bowl, injuries excluding.
Okay, well, let's just fast forward to playoffs. It's kind of like the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Just get there, forget the rest of the season, and let's get to the good stuff. Speaking of the good stuff, Tom Brady looked really cool in Tampa this year. I mean, at the party, throwing the Vince Lombardi trophy, stumbling drunk, real people stuff, and we were like, wow, Tom seems like a different person.
He's just like us.
Is Tom just like us? Or is Tom still the same as he was before, but it just appeared that way?
I think Tom and Gronk together are very happy to be free of the shackles they felt that confined them in New England. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it is. They played with a certain joy this season that probably wasn't there the last couple of years. Even though they won Super Bowl 53 over the Rams, 13-3. I mean, I'll never forget when Gronk retired and he was like, football put me in a bad place. I was beat up. I was hurt. I didn't enjoy it anymore when he announced his CBD company. He was messed up. And getting out of New England and getting out of, the tentacles of the all-knowing master of time, space, and dimension, Bill Belichick. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean, he's really good at that.
Oh, no.
I think it freed them up in a way that they weren't sure would still be successful, right? Because it's like when I left ESPN, or when these guys leave wherever they've been and they know that way works, there's always going to be a doubt, will this other way work? And hell yeah, it worked. I get it. Brady threw 3 interceptions in the second half of the NFC Championship game. If the Packers could have taken advantage of that, we wouldn't be having any of this conversation. But they both played with a freedom and a joy that, if they're honest with themselves, they probably didn't have for the last few years in New England.
Well, what a metaphor to Trey Wingo's life and career with ESPN and his life now. A little bit of freedom, no shackles, and enjoying things a whole lot more. Very quick question before we go to break, before we get more into you. Bill Belichick, though, loading up, spending spree, Cam Newton re-signed. And a number of those guys that didn't play this year that opted out are back.
Yeah.
Patriots back?
I think they're going to be much more competitive. Look, let's a couple of things. Like, people were freaked out when Bill Belichick spent all this money this year. Like 2 years ago, there was that great photo of him, in his bathing suit in Barbados, laughing while everyone else was throwing money at free agency. But they didn't draft very well. They had money to spend. Obviously, he's a competitor. He doesn't want to be 7-9 again and miss the postseason. That was 17 straight seasons snapped with at least 10 wins. So you saw this coming last year with the way they handled things. You knew they were going to be big players in free agency. And yeah, I think they will be back. People are knocking Cam. Cam was a late signing last year, had no offseason with the team, 0, got COVID. His best weapons got hurt. I think that Cam is going to have a much better season this year, and I think the Patriots will be something that Buffalo has to be concerned with if they want to win the AFC East again. No question about it.
Okay, we have a whole lot more that we want to get to with Trey Wingo here on Drinks with Binks. So we will be back after this break. We've got some Moscow meals. Because why not, eh?
Delicious, eh?
Hey guys, welcome back to Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB. We've got Trey Wingo, legendary sports broadcaster here on the show. We're drinking some Moscow Mules. And Trey was on our first ever work from home show, which was 365 days ago. And he predicted that Tom Brady would be the biggest story of the year. I never asked you, would we still be working from home this year? In which case, you probably would have been wrong, because I didn't think we'd be this long. Anyway, let's get going into this game where I'm going to ask him something, and then he will say what it will be like in 1 year. Got
All
it?
right.
Cool. The NFL team we will be talking the most about in a year will be?
The same team we talk about every year, the Dallas Cowboys.
And to follow that one up, Dak Prescott will be known as blank, and why?
Bleeping rich.
And will he do anything with that?
I think he will. Honestly, I think the Cowboys are going to be a much better team this year. So I think that, we're a little upset that Jerry finally got him signed, because that sucked 2 years of content away from us that we had milked to its core. But I think the Cowboys are going to be good, and I think Dak is the most underappreciated quarterback in the game right now.
Ooh, okay, bold. Love that. You already answered the one about Kansas City Chiefs going to their 3rd straight Super Bowl, so we have that one in.
Correct.
What do you think will be the most highly coveted concert ticket in a year?
Gaga, baby. Gaga comes out. I'm going. Listen, I'll say it. Find me a more interesting or awesome entertainer over the last 20 years. She can sing. She can choreograph. She can play the piano. She can play the guitar. She writes her music. She writes her lyrics. She can act. What can't Gaga do? Now, I get it. The Bayhive is going to come at me for this, and I'm here for it. But I remember...
They aren't. The Gaga Mother Monsters, all of my Monster fans will be so happy that we talked about Lady Gaga with an NFL broadcaster.
Well, I'm telling you right now, and I know they've been some... Like the Prince Super Bowl halftime show was amazing in the rain, and I've seen some great ones. Bruno Mars was great. Gaga's performance at Super Bowl 51 was incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
That is also Gaga. That is Lady Gaga is always like that, as someone that knows Lady Gaga very well. Okay, so yeah. Okay, great.
Weren't expecting that one.
Trey, if it was up to me, you and I would be singing Bad Romance right now, but we can't because legally Fubo would then be gone forever. Which maybe they would be happy about if we did that. I don't know. Okay, so in 1 year, are we still going to be working from home?
I think that a vast majority of people will still be working from home in a year. And for the simple reason, look, here's the thing, right? We all know what drives this: dollars. Look how much money people are saving in production costs by doing it this way.
Yeah.
I've got a laptop, a little HD camera, a microphone, and 2 lights. That's it.
So what you're saying is this whole work from home thing is being driven by the networks because they don't want to pay for the studio space.
No, they had no idea because they're not that smart. They just figured out, oh my God, we can save this much money this way. If they had figured this out, they would have done it 4 years ago before the pandemic. So this is just happenstance. This is just happenstance.
Okay. Great. Well, we'll see if my relationship survives that because we did 1 year like this. Let's see if we can do 2. Okay, we got to take
really
a quick
10
time
years.
out. We'll be back. We'll be back with a whole lot more with Trey Wingo here on Drinks with Thanks. Don't go anywhere. Guys, we've had an awesome time drinking and banking here with Trey Wingo. And, not only do we dress the same, obviously we're drinking Moscow Mules, but Trey has an awesome show, Half Forgotten History, which is a show where he talks to people and drinks. So I just want to say you are welcome for the inspo. And it's a great show, though. It's a little different, but you're right. I saw my good friend Julie Stewart-Binks making a living sitting and drinking, and I'm like, this is something I can be on board with. Yeah, I see it. That's an amazing idea. Yeah.
We're very excited about it. We just wrapped up season 2. Season 3 is coming very shortly. Season 3 is all going to be about the NFL draft and the Masters. So we're very excited about that. We'll have former Masters champions on the show. Some of the biggest and best and worst draft picks in NFL history will also join the show to talk about how inexact the science is. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying a couple of current players will be on the show, some coaches, some general managers, some caddies who have some great stories to tell about the Masters.
Can you then send them back over here? Can I get some of the,
It's a continuous loop. Time is a flat circle.
If you said Master Champion Mike Weir, maybe Canadian.
Where's he? 2003. Absolutely. Left-handed.
Send my way after that.
Done. So we're excited about that. Yeah.
You have Pro Football Network as well.
Yes, I'm a brand ambassador and an equity partner for Pro Football Network. I'm very excited about that. We do our shows every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock on their YouTube channel. You want to stay tuned for that. I'm also doing some stuff with the PGA Tour, calling golf events, which, as you know, is one of my passions. And there are a few other things that I can't really say right now, but I want to. But I can't. But I want to. And you'll hear about those in the coming months as well.
You're just like one of those girls on Instagram that's saying, teasing, something soon to come.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear about one thing. That's the only thing I have in common with an Instagram model. So thank you.
It's like news coming soon to be announced. Guys, you can follow Wingo at Wingos. With the Z/Z, which whatever country you're watching from. And also, Trey, just congratulations on everything. You are a grinder. You've already accomplished like everyone's dream of doing all these different things, and you are still trying to, you're like Madonna. You're like reinventing yourself all the time, and it is amazing to watch. So thank you so much for coming on the show here today. And guys, you know where to find us at Fubo Sports on YouTube. All the episodes, including this one with Trey from a year ago, and then from when he was on Call It a Night. And until next time, guys, bottoms up, bitches.
Cheers, Big C.